ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joseph Novichko, Senior Trading Manager with GDM. Today's session, we will talk about binary options. So, welcome to the webinar. First of all, let me apologize for yesterday's webinar, which is actually happening today. I was unavailable at that time to lead the webinar, so therefore we had to reschedule for today. Anyways, without any further delay, today's system of binary options, originally it was developed for Forex trading. As we all know that technical binary options systems are originally invented for normal spot market Forex trading, so on and so forth. However, of course, most of the systems for binary options that we spoke about in our earlier sessions are also specifically developed for binary options as well. Today's session, however, can also, the system itself can also apply to standard spot market trading. It's a very precise trading system, as you will see for yourself in the next following minutes. We only use two particular indicators that we need in order to spot market direction, as it's very specific to the fact that binary option systems need to be very exact and, let's say, to provide absolute certainty for market direction, as every pip matters. Basically, every second, every pip matters until your call or put order expires. Now, the first thing that we notice when we trade binary options, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have only one single price. Despite the fact that we're using MetaTrader 4 to trade binary options with our servers, of course, we also provide with our assistance to guide you through any different kind of binary options trading systems. And most of all, the application for most of our binary option systems, they can easily be transformed, or they can be applied directly in any spot market trading plan. As we spoke in our previous sessions this month, we spoke about scalping trading systems that were quite possible to be adapted one more time for any trading plan. Also a counter trend trading system, which is also very well adapted for the scalping trading system that we spoke about. Today's binary option system, however, is mostly intended to be as a standalone trading system, as our previous sessions prove the fact that not every particular system can be applied along with any other. So today, what we're talking about, firstly, we're going to be using the average directional movement index. Now, as we keep using this particular very special exemplary, let's put it this way, type of trading instrument, the indicator itself have multiple options of the way to use it. However, right now we're only going to use the average directional movement index and its particular directional indices. So for the positive or the upward directional movement index, I'm going to use different settings here as the presetted, which were the default settings. You have different sets. I prefer to use green for bullish direction, red for bearish. The parameters here, we're going to talk about it in a few seconds. However, the color for our particular average directional movement index is going to be as our background, because we're going to hide it. But first of all, with a period at 50, let's have a look at the way that it normally looks. As we can see, it's the average directional movement index everyone is used to looking at. However, using the background and also a few other particular settings by thickening the lines a little bit so we can see it much better. We don't need levels right now whatsoever, and this is how it looks. You can see it's much clearer. The crossovers which we are going to use here, and everywhere, of course. But my main focus right now is, first of all, as we're talking about binary options, I need to specify the positions here that we will be talking about, crossovers, so on and so forth. Everything that matters is within these crossovers here. They're pretty tight, one next to each other. We're talking about 15-minute chart. Of course, I'm going to zoom it in a little bit for everyone to see much better. First of all, however, I want to finish marking these levels like this, and here as well. These will be our talking points. Now let's zoom it a little bit in to stretch out the full chart so we can see better what we're talking about here. And as I mentioned earlier, the second instrument or indicator that we're going to use today, this would be the parabolic support and resistance. Now all that we need here is just thicker dots so we can see better. Also the step and maximum are going to be with the default settings. We don't need anything else. Now why did I mark these particular crossovers here? I did so so when we apply the parabolic support and resistance, we need to see what I am going to talk about in the next few seconds. There we go. This is how the full system looks like. However, these marks that I've set here, as you can see, I can't really place it right on top of the crossover, so I'm just placing it on the next available step here on the grid of the MetaTrader 4. What we see, ladies and gentlemen, are our entry levels. I think I'm going to need a different color for this one, and I'm going to need to use a blue color here because it will be much better visual experience when we talk along the way. I'm marking these for a very specific reason. Now this case scenario, ladies and gentlemen, we are here at this stage. Now what we're looking at is a parabolic that is showing also a direction. Now using the settings of the ADX like this, only the directional index movement indices without the actual ADX as volatility, because we don't need to measure the volatility. We're talking about binary options. We don't really care about how volatile the market is at this moment or at any moment of time. We only need to know which way the market is going and for how long. Now, speaking of how long, we're talking about a session or two, like 15 to 30 minutes, which means one or two particular candlesticks for our session to work well with above 80% of success rate. Basically 8 out of 10 put or calls would be profitable for sometimes, of course, we're aiming, to go even higher, but the fact that there is no 100% certainty, we would like to stay in the midst of 80 to 90% of accuracy. Now, as we can see, after this crossover occurred, it actually happened on this particular candlestick here. I'm going to paint it in blue so we can better see it in this one. When the session opened here, you can go for your call option here. I'm just going to make an arrow to the upside. From here, for one session, now we're going to be witnessing how the particular 15-minute chart will close above this as we see that the market is pointing to the upside. Our parabolic here is already pressing onwards to the upside. Our crossover on the ADX directional movement indices are also pointing up with a crossover. Now there was no crossover here, it was just a slight touch. But right after here, we can see that the market has changed direction to the upside, and we can verify within the next 4 minutes that the call option is valid and it's tradable. I'm not going to make any trades for a very simple reason. We're talking about 15-minute chart. It's where the system focuses as much more accuracy. The 5-minute chart, of course, can also be applied as an opportunity for more trades. I wouldn't risk that much, however. Now, let's have a look at our rest of the directions here. Now, our crossover happened on this candlestick. I'm going to paint it again. Now, the fact that the vertical line is pressing on this one here, it's just the next step of the particular grid as to the availability that the MetaTrader 4 is allowing me to actually place this one. But actual crossover, as you can see, it's much further back on the previous one. And this here is your put option here. You go for the 1 session down to here when you collect your profits. I'm just going to mark it with X. It's much easier with the mouse. Now we're going to see this one in the next following minutes, 2-3 minutes left to see this call option here. We have another call option on this one. This candlestick is where the crossover occurred. Our call option is here, and the closing is also here on the end of it. Now, given the fact that you can wait even longer, I wouldn't really recommend it because it's a binary option trade. You don't need to wait for too long, as you're not collecting pip sizes and you're not really making your money from the market movement rather than the time that you're spending the right side of the price. Let's put it this way. Now, let's have another look at this crossover here. The crossover to the downside occurred on the previous case here. You see how the parabolic is actually pointing to the upside, but the crossover here is pulling it to the downside. Now our trade comes on this candlestick right after. Let me just place this here to see for you to see where exactly the directional indices are pointing. Now it's the red one is pointing up. Of course, we're entering a bearish sentiment on the market. Now, that bearish sentiment, of course, eventually turns that parabolic to the downside. And when it does, our entry should occur. Now, I would enter right away on the moment that this dot occurs, but it actually occurs on the closing of this one and opening of this one. Therefore, your position comes here on this candlestick, and you exit at the end of it. And there you go, another profitable binary option trade. So moving backwards on these two trades here, where we see that the market is clearly sidelining, but even in this case where the size of the market move is very insignificant for a particular spot market trade, this candlestick and the opening of this one allows you to make another put call with an exit right over here where your trade is profitable. Again, you can see the crossover pointing to the upside. That was the case on this candlestick here. There you go. You have another a profitable binary option trade. You actually opened, you close your trade here right now when the 15-minute clock expired. Just right now you can see the new trade open. However, the market will keep moving onwards to the upside. It's as you can see, the 15-minute chart, actually very aggressively, because we're getting very close to the gross domestic product out of the U.S. Well, also we have very significant amount of traders and a lot of money flow during the European session, and of course especially when it opens the US session. Both very huge sessions working at once, of course, makes a lot of volatility on the market, especially also on other news. Now you can see how the market actually moved, sorry, not the market, but the time actually moved my chart. So I'm going to move it just a little bit backwards towards our actual time when we made these drawings on the chart. Now, without any further delay, we see the trade here, the crossover on this one that it happens here. We see that we can open a call order here, call option here, then you take your profit at the end of this one, and then reversed direction right after a few sessions onward. So you can see now we're talking about trades that actually start from somewhere around here. Okay, 30th March. This is at the time where a position occurred. So today only we have 1, 2, 3, for now 3 positions, 3 binary options positions, which were absolutely profitable. Now if you, for example, have a profitable system of binary options that can generate, because you can see it's still very very early. It's 20 minutes past noon GMT time, please note. We're talking about 3 valid trades only for the morning, which can generate, let's say, that's if you have a significantly well-performing trading system that can allow you to trade with $1,000 every time, and the average payout, let's say, is about 80%. Which means you're generating 3 positions multiplied by the 80%, that's $800. Now you can pretty much calculate on your own how much money you would have made already. That's $2,400 only until now, and you can see how quickly the market can give you further opportunities. Now I'm saying $2,400 or $2,400. This is only on the average payout. Now it could be sometimes lower, sometimes bigger. It really depends on the currency pair or the commodity or the instrument that you're trading. So anyways, we saw those positions here. We have another crossover here. You can see this one. The crossover actually occurred on this big huge candlestick here. It's just a system that allowed me to go for this one. You can see that the market clearly goes on for at least 3-4 sessions in the same direction. Now why would I choose to enter my call option here and end it on the 15 minutes? Now this is very important, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need to wait for that long, because for a very simple reason, you need to collect that profit. You need to get that money out of that trade and put it in another trade. Now you can align, if you have multiple monitors, 3, 6, 5, 10 monitors if you want. You can monitor as many trading instruments as you want, and of course further on you can still make, let's say, every 15 minutes a trade, which allows you to generate every 15 minutes basically about $800 on 1,000 option. So basically this is the so-called average calculation. Now let's move a little bit backwards. We can see the same case here when we spoke earlier. There is of course on a very aggressive directional movement. You can see the crossover here occurs straight on with the parabolic here and allows you to trade for the same amount of time as we spoke earlier. The same case scenario here when this particular way occurs. There you go, another profitable trade. Now, what I want to do is to go further back without marking these positions like that, just to follow on the crossover. So you can see the crossover occurred on this candlestick, the opening of this one. You can just go for an option, put option here, and collect the profit straight after the expiry of this one, because you can see that the parabolic is changing direction, but the average directional movement index is still pointing roughly to the downside or to the sideways. But if you don't have that crossover and a confirmation from the parabolic that it's showing you the right direction, you don't enter any kind of trade. So this is the rule. Parabolic, ADX, all in the same direction. If the parabolic switches direction like this one here, but the other, the average directional movement index is pointing to the opposite direction, do not enter the trade. You will lose money like this. You see, you can get lucky and just open a trade within the same direction, or when it reverses direction, just quickly in and out. Sometimes it could work, but most of the times you will lose trades on this one. Do not enter. Same case scenario here. Downward direction on the parabolic, roughly sideways direction. You can see market is seesawing, but an option trade could always very quickly generate profit for you. In a case like this one, you don't need a big movement, you only need the time to win that trade. You see, when the market turns up, the parabolic is much faster. The ADX is acting a little bit slower. That's why we're using period of 50, because it filters out all negative trades, or all negative trades. It doesn't really filter all negative trades, but in high volume or case scenario like this one, for example, when you have a gap, for example, you don't even know if in this moment you will be able to catch the market, or it's just going to close roughly a few pips off your opening price. Anyways, the fact that the parabolic is in the upwards direction here, or crossover occurs on the large candle, you can open trade and still go on a profit. Same case scenario here. You can see parabolic pointing to the upside, ADX pointing to the downside, because the red one is going up. That means bearish direction. They switch sides here. They come in alignment on this one here. When you open that trade with just 4 baby pips, ladies and gentlemen, you are even winning that trade. Anyways, my interest in this particular way of trading here, when you see it, is that spot market or binary option trade gives you a lot of accuracy. Now, if you are trading spot market, for example, this 4 sessions gives you roughly $200 on a lot. That's about 2 hours of 1 hour of trading. 1 hour of trading, you're making $100. Case scenario number 2, here, from here until here, 22 sessions give you pretty much the same amount of profit on one lot. But as I mentioned, this is a small time frame. Of course, the pip size or market direction could be for a very small amount of time. So you don't have to wait 2-3 sessions. Open a trade, 15-minute trade, binary option, and you're ready to go. You see the exception of how the parabolic is going up, but then the contraction of the ADX allows you to make an exception, but we do not make exceptions, ladies and gentlemen. We trade to make money. Exceptions only make us weak, and we do not do so. Now, same case scenario here. Those don't really cross over. They just touch away, but the actual trade comes here when this parabolic occurs. There you go, a position trade, which is also profitable. Same case scenario here. Parabolic is going up, crossover of the ADX, and bam, there you go. another profitable trade. Even if I keep doing so and giving you more examples, you can see we just went back to March 22. March 22. Now this is about what's that? 6 days. Now for 6 trading days, that's until last week, Friday or something, I suppose, even Thursday, whatever. The fact that for about a week time you don't have even one losing trade, well, I suppose those were, let's say, average 10 positions, because it's easier to calculate with every position generating $800. That's $8,000 for a week. Well, I believe that is a trade I can, that is a system I can rely on for the long run. And basically because it's technical trade, a small time frame, if you only, do not break the rules, you can always rely on it, trade accordingly. Therefore, you can expect a good performance of the system. As I mentioned, it usually goes to about 80 to 90% success rate, but of course as you can see so far, we are touching the 99.9% accuracy. Anyways, I'm not saying 100%, ladies and gentlemen, because there is no 100%, but if we can get as close as we can. Well, anyways, that's all about of the system of today. We have actually even saw in real life, in real time, how it performed. You can see the market still pushes onwards to the upside. Even if I give you examples with more currency pairs or commodities or any kind of trading instruments, you will still see the same results. It works well. Of course, it's reliable for any particular instrument, but the fact that you have to strictly keep the rules intact in order to save yourself some headache, you will of course have a very neat, reliable system to incorporate into your trading plan for binary options, or if you wish for spot market trading, it still works. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, and please remember, if you've missed something of today's session, or you came a little bit too late on the webinar today, we can always repeat it in one-on-one session if you wish. Just give us a call. Find our contact details at gdmfx.com. There is a pop-up chat on the bottom right corner where, of course, our colleagues here at the firm will always attend to any kind of question you might have and any kind of issue. For any urgencies, of course, call us directly at our telephone lines, and we will, of course, assist you in any kind of case scenario that you might be struggling with. So thank you very much for joining me today. Whatever questions you have, you know how to find us. And of course, I'm going to see you again tomorrow on our final webinar for this month. We're going to talk about another binary option session system. Of course, it will always be available to be used for spot market trading as well. But most of all, please remember that from Monday, you can start signing up for the new month of Advanced Trading Webinar Series. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.